So we're back where we left off, where we cached out each element separately using this split points by material node, so we can access the fluid, sand and particles. And this works great if you've just got one of each of them. If you've got like 3 different fluid sims in here, they're all going to still be contained in there, so you're only going to be able to apply the same shader to all of them, and you might not want to do that. So there is another way we can go around this, and it's actually slightly less complicated in here. It becomes more of a post-Arnold thing. So let's go about doing that now. So what I'm going to do is I am going to just disconnect all these for the time being. Let's disconnect that and disconnect that. And I'll just keep one of the caches. CV. There we go. And we'll just do it for the granulars at the moment. We'll worry about the cloth. Might make a new output just because there's lots of outputs on that output. And we're going to call this one all parts. And we'll go right mode. Right, so we're back where they are. So what we have to do is, actually I'll make this, because otherwise I'll just make another, just to sort of prove it works, make another I'll make another, which one make another of? I'll make another sand. So CV, let's do C, oops, there we go, and V that. I'm going to put that in there, going to get hold of this cylinder, plug him into that one, and then we're going to plug that into sources. Look at that, just change the colour of this so we know. So he's green, so that's green sand. And what we now have to do is we have to go down to the solver settings, and we have a couple of things in here that we can turn on. So we've got these labels, label point ID and label point sources. So if you turn on label point ID, every single particle here will get its own individual ID number, which you can then access later and play around with. But we don't want to use that one, we want to use this one, label sources. So basically every source particle from each one of these 4 sources will be given a label which signifies which source it's coming from. So if we turn that on, we're going to get that, and that is just, if we go down here, so let's get rid of this, and if I right click there and add a watch point, we can see the data that's coming out of here. It's got a size issue to it. Let's try. This happens when you've got more than one sort of thing going through here, basically more than one array. An array is a sort of group of data, and you can have arrays of arrays. So this is an array of all the information for each of those particles. So there's 3 of them in there for the 3 different types: sand, snow and fluid. Let's do a, see if we can get first in array to work. This will just look at the first one, first in array. So we can plug that in, and then plug that in, and then unplug that, just for the time being. And we'll just get that one. Then we just want to go, sorry, come on, there we go, add a watch point. There we go. So let's just bring my not that. Well, I don't need to turn it on and off, but we'll just do it anyway. So we can see here, this is the point source ID. When you turn it on off, that will disappear. So this is the sort of name of the data that we're going to be looking at later on. That was all I wanted to do there. We can delete that and just plug that back in. So they all appear again. So we can now cache these out. And I'll pause this. So I've cached those out, so put those to read. So now we've got zoop, like that. Right, so let's do an assign material. Unplug that, plug that one in. And we are going to go to Hypershade. Let's just clear this. And we want to make a thing called an AI switch. And what this does is it lets you add materials to these, and then you can switch between them using an index. So if I go to shader here and I just do AI standard surface, go back and actually let's call that one snow. Go back here. Let me go. There we go. Let's make another one. AI standard surface shaders. Let's call that one yellow sand or yell sand. Actually, this might not work the way I want. I'll do this to begin with, but they might be in the wrong order. Well, let's just call these. Let's not get confused here. Let's just call this one. And the other one, so rather than naming them, because they might not be the way they output out there with these names, so let's just call this one 0, because this will be their ID numbers. Let's go back to here. So I need another AI standard shader. It's going to call this one 2. And I think, is it just 4 of them I need? And we're going to call this one 0. Oops, didn't do that there. Do it here. 0, 3. Or just call it 3 actually. So 1, 2, 3, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So I'll just do that. So I've now got this AI switch with 4 materials in it. So if I drag this guy in, like that, and just to make sure so it's difficult working in the one window. Let's make you red. You're gonna be, let's just leave you at white. Let's make you blue. And you yellow. And that'll be it. So if I put that into the surface material, it'll go grey. Let's put a light in the scene. Lights. Sky dome. So now, if I go to the Arnold render view, I hit render. They're all white. So let's just check that the thing's working. So we'll bring up. Actually, let's just do it here. Bifrost graph. Let's switch. So let's just see what this one. So if I make this one 1, they're all blue. If I make this one 2, they're all yellow. If I make this one 3, they're all red. So it's working, but they're just not picking up those source IDs that we want. So how we get that to work is we go back to our Hypershade. We need another utility. It's an AI user, but it's not user color. It's an AI user int. An int is for integer. So if we go back to here, let's just, well, we've talked about sort of data types before. Vectors, three numbers, like an RGB is a float 3. A float is a number that's 1 and a decimal, so 1.2, 1.3. An integer is a whole number, and these ID sources are whole numbers. We just have to make sure we have the right data type, otherwise it's not going to work properly. So we make an AI user data int, and we just need to plug that into, so the out value of that into there, go other, and we just want it into the index like that. And now we have to give it that right, the name of the attribute we wanted. So let's see if we can get access to that again. I might need to do a first an array to see it. To get the watch point up, I'll just do this as an output for the time being, and then let's just right click that. And we are looking for point source ID with the underscores. So let's go back here. So point, not capitals, doesn't work if it's capitals. Point source ID. And fingers crossed, hopefully this will work. If I now hit play, there we go. It's gonna be, oh, we're only getting weirdness there because I've go back to, I've actually got remove watch point. Just to access that data, I did a first an array and I made another output, so we were outputting them all together again. There we go. So that's how you access the different, if you've got multiple different granular simulations and you want different materials on them. That's the workflow for getting that to work. Just with an AI switch, and then you just plug in your different materials into each one. Yeah, so that's that.